Hello, welcome back. It is Friday, November 3rd. My name is Chris Lynn, and with me, as always, is Heather Balcerek, and together we make the mighty team that is the Hire Me Podcast. We are coming to you live. We do this every Friday. Oh, the music's going. I forgot to turn it off. It's been a minute since we've done this live.
Just a minute.
Just a minute. Well, as always, we go live on YouTube and LinkedIn. So if you are watching right now, we would love to see your names and your comments, questions down in the comment section below. And as always, obligatory, make sure you give us a like and follow as you watch us and subscribe. So again, coming to you today, Friday, Frivolous Friday, and we just want to talk about how we can elevate today's top talents. And today we are diving in about developing not hard skills, not soft skills, but power skills. So Heather, first off, how are you and what are power skills?
Oh my gosh. I am so good. It's so good to be back. I miss this terribly when we don't get to do this on Fridays. So, yes, I'm super, super, super happy to be here. And I'm so glad to be talking about this today because this is something I'm extremely passionate about. Because when you think about like the soft skills, right? Like that's what a lot of people call them. And that's like your emotional intelligence, psychological safety, empathy, those types of squishy things in terms of skills. And like in leadership even can fall into this, right? Like how to be a good leader. But those aren't soft skills. It makes it feel like those are not important. Those are power skills. Like having the ability to empathize with people, to create psychologically safe spaces, to lead a team, to be vulnerable, to have emotional intelligence. Those are powerful skills that you need in the workforce. And so when I was thinking about, people looking for jobs and looking for roles, a lot of things that people are saying is like, hey, go get certifications, go learn Java, C++, whatever the new latest, greatest computing language is that I know nothing about. Whatever that is, go get these hard skills, which are good. I'm not discounting hard skills. They're good. Hey, Matt, welcome. Those are things that you do need, but I feel like it's forgotten when you're in that kind of like, okay, I've got to find a new job. I need to up my skill set. People leave the power skills on the table and don't think about how can I improve my leadership skills? What certifications can I get that will help me be a better coach, a better, facilitator? Like facilitating. This is, there is a lot of this that would be considered a soft skill, or to me a power skill, because there's a lot of emotion and human interaction that you have to be good at to be able to facilitate well. So there's my very long intro into what we're talking about today.
Well, for all of the everyone who's watching and listening to this live right now, so if you have any thoughts or questions about power skills, make sure you add them into the comments and we'll be sure to talk about it. This is a very free format. So again, when you're talking about power skills, and I'm starting to understand a bit more about what you're talking about, because one of the several articles that I've been reading and a lot of the research that's been coming out, especially since the pandemic, has been you don't get promoted or you don't get recognized for the technical skills in your role. You get promoted and recognized based off these power skills, off of these skills to be able to influence, off of these skills to be able to empathize and influence change, the skills to get buy-in. And when we talk about those three areas, right? Change, influence, and buy-in and empathy. That's what you need to do in the interview process, right? Is you need to be able to like influence the process as you are going through. So, what are some of the things that, well, I mean, I'm going to kind of like toot our own horns a little bit, but like these are like, I know these are topics that you and I are very familiar with as learning and development professionals, but like, what, we always like having tactical, like tangible things to be able to give to people. So, what are some of those ways that they can actually build those power skills?
Oh, there are so many ways. And I feel like obviously educating yourself, right? Just like you would go and gain a technical skill where you would maybe go onto LinkedIn Learning and you would find something on how to do some kind of, technical skill. There are things out there for the power skills too. Um, I think about like I have access right now to Skillsoft and Percipio, and there's an MIT leadership development program that they have a bunch of different learning paths in there, and so there's things like executive presence, like learning more about that skill, to be better at that, and so it's finding the way that you can kind of pull that information in just like you would a technical skill, are those hard skills. And hey, Amy, what's up? um, so when I think about like it, so maybe you don't have access to LinkedIn Learning or Skillsoft, Percipio, right? YouTube. Go to YouTube. And you know, search things like, how do I become, let's go back to this facilitator thing because I've been doing a lot of research on this lately. But from my one of my new favorite people to follow and watch, which is Chad Littlefield. Um, and he's a phenomenal facilitator, but he doesn't just teach facilitation, he teaches connection. And that's a power skill. Like being able to help people make a connection from one thing to another, to set them up and be very intentional about what you're doing. Those are power skills, and he has a plethora of videos to watch on how to do this. So, it just even something like that you can do, and of course, podcast.
Yeah,
There's all kinds of
all the podcasts. You know, Heather might have a podcast,
maybe.
maybe. Yeah.
Just
I mean, okay. So for if you've watched this for a while, you know that this is very free flowing. So I'm gonna go that route right now. What it sounds like, Heather, is that we should spend the next few episodes of these lives and dive into each one of these power skills that might help someone on their job search. It's a whole
Yeah,
series. Look at that. We just developed the whole series like right like that.
whole series. Boom, got it, done. Write it down.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's 100%. It is worth diving in deeper, especially to things, um, like connection, like emotional intelligence, and um, so I did horrible at my reading goals this year. Until just this last month, and I read 3 books last month in the month of October. I was very proud of myself. It's like, woo, 3 books,
That's awesome.
yay! Now I just gotta like try to keep that up to the end of the year. But so I read this book, Full Steam Ahead, which is a Ken Blanchard book with Jesse Lynn Stoner, and this is the second edition, so it had been revised and updated. But it talks about like setting a vision for your work and life, helping somebody set a vision. That's a power skill. Being able to walk somebody through that and ask questions, and even setting your own, like learning how to do that. Just reading a book like this, which is a story. This is my favorite way to learn, is stories like Who Moved My Cheese and that kind of stuff. But because it sticks, it,
Yeah.
it makes it sticky. Um, but if you can just, dive into a book like that and gain that information, write it down, do whatever you need to do to help you kind of, keep that information, in your head. Because if you think about creating a vision, and like if we talk about like, okay, you're job searching, what does creating a vision have to do with job searching? Everything, right? If you can create a vision for yourself of what you want, it will help you shape your job search.
Yep.
It will help you outline what companies you want to work for. It will help you find the positions that you want. It will help you meet other people. So that is, one of the things that it may not seem related, but it is. That's why power skills are so important in
100%.
your job search. So,
Yeah, and Amy D right now is saying, one of her leaders this week talked about the power of storytelling and going beyond the numbers. And my turn to reach for something. One sec. I have a stack of Harvard Business Review,
ooh.
magazines, and this is the latest one. Wait, where's my candy? There we go.
Look at storytelling that drives bold change. Ooh, I love that.
So I haven't cracked this open yet. It just came in yesterday. But when we talk about, storytelling is everything, because as human beings, we are drawn to stories. We are drawn to relatability. And from an L&D standpoint, that is almost everything about our job, is you have to
Yes.
make content relatable, because even though leaders, decision makers are drawn to numbers and they want hard, tangible numbers, you need to be able to tell a story with those numbers. You need to be able to say, hey, this is what I did, or this is what we want to do. And as a job seeker, right, when we say in your resume, you want resumes to say, to not only show the impact that you had on the organization or on the team or on the customers, whatever it might be, but it needs to tell a story, right? So it can't just be, made sales or grew sales 6% year over year, right?
Yeah.
You need to be able to say grew sales 6% year over year by doing XYZ, right? Or, by growing sales, we were able to achieve this other thing, right? So you need to go just a little bit further, in that storytelling to say, here's the numbers, here's the problem, here's the resolution, and here's the impact that I had, right? It's almost like that STAR method.
Oh gosh, that
Fancy
thing we talk
that.
about, huh? As you were talking about that, Chris, I was thinking about how, because we've talked about a lot of this on the podcast and in the lives, over the last, gosh, it's not a year yet, but dang it, it's close.
Yep.
We're getting really close to a year.
Yep.
But in the preparation piece of preparing for an interview and to apply, if you think about it, we've talked about writing down your stories, writing down your STAR stories, or your SOAR, or your CAR, whatever you want to call it, writing those down, and then take that, right, and then you can pull out the small pieces, and that's what goes on your resume, right? That's your resume is the little bit of the teaser. Right. That's the teaser to the story that you can tell in the interview.
Yep.
And so, you can pull those things out. That's why that kind of preparation in the first place is so important.
Yeah.
And not just let me get everything out there and
Yeah.
apply to everything. You got to prepare for that.
Yeah.
100%. Oh man. I
Real
know.
quick,
Yes,
sorry,
go.
real quick on that. So
Mhm.
if you are in a current role and you are about to start job hunting, or you are job hunting, but you have a position, quick tip, start writing those stories down now, because it's really hard to remember them later. And especially when you're job hunting. And if you don't have a job, your brain is under stress, your memory is not going to be as good. So make sure you're writing those wins down and putting them somewhere that you can keep personally. And if you
Yes.
can, we had this episode, I think almost 2 months ago now, build your portfolio while you can.
Yes.
So as you have those wins come up, as you accomplish certain things in your roles, make sure you set that aside. If you are allowed to make a copy of it, put it in your portfolio. Of course, whitewash specifics off of it, but say here's an example of something I've done. Here is a quick story about it. Put it to the side. Takes
Yeah.
you maybe 20 minutes,
Mhm.
maybe. So, and then that way, if you need it later, you can pull all of that out.
Yeah. Because if you're not doing that and you do get that unfortunate, you've been laid off and you lose access to everything, you've lost access to everything
Yeah.
that you may not be able to get data for.
Yeah.
Which has happened to me a couple different times, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um,
Same here.
where it's like, oh man, like I thought I had that, and then it was gone. Like,
Yep.
oh no, what am I gonna do? Or I left a job but didn't take good notes, and had to like kind of go back and like dig around to figure out what data, and I had to go back and ask people, um, like, hey, when we did that project 4 years ago, um, do you remember what we did? So,
Yep.
that's one of the things you gotta be diligent about, documenting. As I say that directly to myself and our listeners. Um, something I've gotta do better at.
Well, it's
Um,
easy to like forget to like
yeah,
document. Yeah.
yes.
So
Um,
don't do that.
I know.
Start documenting.
Start documenting. I'm gonna put it on the calendar every Friday. This is what I'm gonna do. Amy can keep me accountable over there.
Yeah.
So Amy is my amazing coworker, and so she can help keep me.
Awesome.
We'll be accountability buddies on that. But I think about like some of the other power skills that that people need, or maybe hard to like. How do I get emotional intelligence? What can I do to level up my emotional intelligence? Because that's well, what is emotional intelligence? It's a lot of things. And so I think it's kind of, we're going to do some research because we're going to do a series about this. So we'll have a little bit more like specifics on where to like point people and stuff. But I'm sure somewhere out there is a quiz. There's a quiz for everything,
Everything.
that can help you like rate your emotional intelligence. And you can kind of figure out, okay, where do I need, to focus on? And then you can focus on those areas. Um, I don't know, because I have access to it, through work. So I do not know how this works if outside of work, but, Franklin Covey has a platform that has a lot of good information on it. And I'm sure some of it's available, to the public at some, in some way. But they have a lot of articles that are, oh, look at you
Found one just
on
like that.
on it. Love it. Um, so, it's, there's a lot of different articles that kind of give you those steps of like, of how to, gain somebody's trust, right? Franklin Covey's big on trust. That's one of the biggest things, leading at the speed of trust and all of that. So, finding those things and really pinpointing where you feel like you need the most help. If you're a leader and you're looking for a new role, delegation. I mean, I don't know that. I mean, I think I've had leaders that are better at it than others, but I don't know if I've ever had anybody that's just like stellar at delegation.
Yeah.
Maybe are you stellar at delegation, Chris? Okay,
Pretty sure
you
my
maybe.
team would pretty sure my team right now would say the same.
I tell my team very often, I'm like, y'all, I'm trying to get better at delegation. I'm trying. I'm like trying to get better at delegating, and delegating clearly, and not just saying, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But giving you specific directions. But like that's
By the way, if my
that's
team's
one of
watching
the
right now, please forgive me. We can talk about it later. I'm sorry.
we ask for forgiveness, please. But we're learning and growing. Like that's what it's all about. You have to continue. Like if you know that it's a weak spot, that's a power skill. Because honestly, if you can delegate, that is huge, especially if you're going into something like project management.
Yeah.
Being able to delegate something, to someone that maybe is not even reporting to you, and gaining their buy-in, influencing where they want to go with it. Like
I mean, it
This is
also
a
has
circle. This all
there's a
connects.
there's a whole nother level, right? Like if you dig into what delegation actually is, it's not only coordination, it's not only project management, but it's also being able to prioritize things, right? I think that's a question even like more senior roles still ask is like, how do you prioritize all of these different things? And
Mm,
being able to delegate some of those things and identify what are the most important things, what are the most urgent things is critical. So I'd say that is another thing to be able to like really focus on, right? These all of these quote unquote soft skills, which we both Heather and I clearly hate that term. I call them critical skills. Heather is,
critical.
we're calling them power skills, right? They're critical to operating in a job, but um, these are the ones that are really going to drive you forward, right?
Yeah.
And especially if you are job hunting,
Yeah.
being able to say, hey, I can prioritize these things, or hey, I can empathize with these things, or Heather, the point that you made earlier around trust. The whole point of a job interview process is, do they trust you to do this job? And so
Yeah.
how do you instill trust through that process?
Yeah.
Because that job hunting process, that interview process is a microcosm of how they're going to see you in the actual role. So how do
Yes.
you gain their trust immediately? And one of the things that I like to do, and maybe this is a deeper convo, Heather, that we need to have because you just had that like aha thing, but real quick,
Okay. Sorry,
is
Chris. I just
yeah.
lost all sound. So
Oh,
I'll be
can you?
right back. Let
Okay,
me figure
I
out
can
what's
hear you.
happening.
I can hear you.
No, I can't hear you.
Okay. Okay. Anyway, I'll just keep rambling. So with gaining trust, it's so important. And one of the things that I like to do, or that I did during my own job hunting experience, was be vulnerable in that moment. So when we talk about, I think 90% of interviews will encapsulate, hey, tell me about a time that you failed, or tell me about a time that you struggled with this or something like that. Be vulnerable and honest and say, hey, this is something that I didn't necessarily, or this is what I did is, I struggled with this particular moment or project, and this is what I learned from it, and this is what I now do to combat that, or this is what I do because of that instance. And this is the impact. Again, go back to the storytelling and the impact piece is like, once you share that vulnerability to gain that trust, then you can then show the impact that you had within the organization. Heather, do we have you back?
Yes, yes.
That was so quick. That was so quick.
I have zero clue what just happened. Because my AirPods are not dead, but they were just like, peace
They
out.
pieced
I'm not
out.
gonna play any like, and then I like moved my head over this way and then it came back and I was like, nope, just gonna switch them. I don't know. I don't know. There's been lots of gremlins in my computer world today. Um, so I feel like it's a sign. It's a sign.
They're like, it's Friday, y'all. Peace.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really how I feel like my computers have done today. They're like, no, no thanks. I think a power skill, I think something I'm gonna add into my list of power skills is patience with technology because it's a power skill
If you
to be
say
able to
that,
do it.
they're gonna slate you for an IT role. Don't say that too many times.
Look, um, so one of the things too, I don't know how to classify this as a skill. I don't know what to even know what to really call this, but I think it's something that it's good for people to know if you have this skill and how to articulate it because obviously I'm about to not articulate it well. So, group session
Yeah,
here to help.
brainstorm session.
Uh, but I think about the having the capacity and the skill to like when you see something that's not working. And so I'll give an example from something I'm working through right now at work. We have individual development plans. It's something that we have. It's set up through MS Forms right now. It sends. You can when somebody fills it out, they save it as a PDF. That's it. Like that's it's it doesn't edit well and all this, and And it's, let me tell you, if anybody from my work watches this, like, it's an amazing form. Like, it's a lot. There's branching, like, it's intricate. And it's got a lot of good stuff in it. But as I was going through this process, myself and my team, with all of our executives filling out this plan, we noticed there were some things that weren't quite working the way that they needed to. And so my brain starts to spin. And I'm like, how can we make it better? And so then I go down the rabbit hole of YouTube and I figure out how to um, use Power Automate to now automate that form to go into a Word document that we set up as a template that now that they can edit and then like do all of like, it took me down this path that I don't like, that's not typical. Like, I don't just know how to do that stuff, but I have that ability. What skill is that? What ability is that, Chris, to be able to
Um,
say, like, let me figure it out?
yeah, I would say like you can't say business analytics because that's a different term now, but operational, it's like business operations. It's something that I put on my list of skills as well because I mean, for us in L&D, you have to have that skill set also. We have to like we do so much. Anyway, just tooting our own horn here again. But um yeah, it's around being able like I've done that as well is you have to have an operations skill set. So I just say either business operations or operations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, it's, I guess, knowing the operations piece, right? Because that's, you know, a power skill, but also a little bit technical skill, right? It's also a little bit more of the hard skill. But I think there's that skill there that makes you, it's the courage.
Yep.
There's the word. It's the courage to even just say, can we do this differently? Can we make it better? And how?
Yeah.
And having the courage to just say, "Let me find it." Maybe I
Yeah.
won't find anything, but maybe I'll find a solution that's better, that can help us automate, that can help us save time. And I think that's one of those very first steps of anything, especially even in job hunting, the skill of courage, of
Yeah.
taking that first step,
Yeah.
is definitely a power skill.
Yeah. Well, I was about to say it's what a lot of people put on resumes, which, because it's done so much, it's kind of icky, but it's like you're a problem solver or like growth mindset. And then that led me down this,
Ah, I
our
love that
buzzword,
movie.
our buzzwords segment that didn't last
Oh
too
god.
long, but I
Oh
mean,
god, we gotta get back on that.
I know, but it is something very critical. But I think if you don't put it necessarily down on your resume, you can still showcase it through
Yeah.
interviews. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Articulate it better than I do.
Again, star format. What was the situation? Like, what was the problem? What
Yeah.
problem did you
Right.
solve? And then,
Look at me.
I would even go one story that I like to tell, which is similar to yours, is um, I was brought into one organization and I was brought in to build up their learning programs. And what I found was operationally, they were disjointed. They were not connected from an
Mm,
operation standpoint because from an element for learning and development, you have to go in and you say, okay, what things are being done, right? And as I did that discovery, I was like, oh, these pieces are duplicative. And so I went end to end mapping out their process and I created a process map and said, these are all of the areas that are either broken or duplicated. And then so gave that back to the executive team. I'm like, hey, here's what you need to do, or here's what I discovered. Here's the map. Here's what needs to be fixed. Let's fix it because then I can do my job. Right.
well,
So that's one situation that I've come in is to show an additional like value add is like beyond just the role of my responsibilities. This is how it's impacted other parts of the business. So,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, man. We could go down this for a while, but I know it's
Oh,
time.
yeah. It's time. All
It
right,
goes
well,
by so
y'all. Yeah,
fast.
it's so fast. All right, y'all. Well, Again, this has been the Hire Me Live podcast. Again, my name is Chris Lynn. As always, with me, Heather Balcerek. We go live every Friday, except the rest of this month because we are
Except when we don't.
except when we don't. So we'll be back starting in December. We're gonna have some guests lined up. We're gonna dive into these topics around power skills. It sounds like. So make sure you stay tuned. Hit that like button, subscribe, follow wherever you are watching this. We are live on LinkedIn and YouTube. As always, you can subscribe and follow here. Or if you know someone that is job hunting or you are job hunting and you want them to be able to, I'm using the old links. What am I doing? Use these links where you can see our faces. You can schedule a free interview where we create a video resume for job seekers. It's a 15-minute process, a 10-minute interview that you can share with for hiring managers. I was like, I'm saying the wrong things. For hiring managers and hiring teams, or just the world, so you can get your name out there and elevate yourself. Thank you all, and have a
Yes.
great weekend.
Absolutely. Everybody have a great Thanksgiving if you're in the US. Coming up.
Peace.